No argument, God of Destruction Beerus is strong. But how strong he is has been a bit of controversy in the Dragon Ball fandom because we have contradictory statements that are being made constantly about Lord Beerus. And throughout the years, we've wondered, when is Goku going to finally catch up to this guy and be able to defeat him in battle? They've teased a Goku-Beerus rematch going all the way back to 2013's Battle of Gods movie, which came out 11 years ago. Are we ever going to see a Goku versus Beerus rematch? That remains to be seen, but will Goku actually be able to defeat him? On this video, we're going to go into Beerus's power and discuss this sort of idea the fandom has about Beerus being a moving goalpost, figuratively of course, for Goku. I've got statements, I've got screenshots, I've got all of the information compiled for you next. We're all here because we love comics and animation, and now the next evolution is here. Introducing Storyaverse, a new mobile entertainment app delivering exclusive animated short stories for you to read and watch in a new read-watch format for those who love a good story and animations. Storyaverse brings together talented writers and animators with a wide range of styles, techniques, and genres for stories you won't find anywhere else. There is something for everyone, from action and sci-fi to fantasy and comedy. For example, check out The Silver King. It's about a billionaire who awakens in the distant future where these creatures have taken over. I've heard the animation and the twist at the end are both crazy. And there's way more where that came from. Click the link down below and check out the Storyaverse app right now for both iPhone and Android. Also check out Storyaverse on socials. I thank them for sponsoring this video. So as promised with this video, we're going to build this house of truth brick by brick. We're going to go through the series of Dragon Ball Super and beyond to perfectly illustrate Goku's strengths compared to Beerus and compare the two. There are a lot of inconsistencies, but a lot of this can be cleared up with one easy point of view that you have to take, and it's at this point necessary to take it, and that is the fact, before we go any further, hammer this one home into your brain, that Dragon Ball Super's anime and manga are two different continuities. These are objectively two separate canons, and anybody who disagrees with that has not been paying attention. Open your eyes. The reality is that both the anime and the manga are inspired by and are adaptations of a Toriyama manuscript written by the original creator and collaborations with people like Toyotaro and the staff at Toei Animation. So we have to look at what is the closest to the original vision while analyzing both sides. And once you kind of look at it from that perspective, you'll quickly realize that it does seem like Beerus is stronger in the manga, or at least perceived to be stronger in the manga. Now, we have to start at the beginning, and that is going back to Beerus' first appearance in Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, the movie, followed by Battle of Gods, the manga and anime adaptations of the original story, which was written by Yusuke Watanabe and later corrected by Akira Toriyama himself. As it stands, there are three major versions of the Battle of Gods story. The original movie written by Watanabe, corrected by Toriyama directly, then the anime adaptation and the manga adaptation. And there have been silly debates in the fandom about which one is quote-unquote more canon, with some people thinking that Dragon Ball Super is quote-unquote more canon because they added things to it. But if the original creator comes up with a story and then the animation staff adds to it, does that make the animation staff superior to the original? Let's not go down that road, but the best thing to do is look at Beerus and his statement in the Battle of Gods movie. That's the point I'm trying to get to in referencing Battle of Gods. In the Battle of Gods movie, Beerus went one-on-one with Super Saiyan God Goku, and Goku was able to retain some of that God energy, reverting back into his base and Super Saiyan forms, and tapped into it one more time to absorb Beerus's gigantic blast at the end of the fight. But at this point, Beerus was way stronger than Goku, but he also knew at that moment that Goku was a very talented fighter, and at the end of the film, he has a conversation with Whis where we find out two major facts. The first one is that Beerus acknowledges the fact that Goku and Vegeta as Saiyans can get rapidly stronger, and he sees them as somebody who may become a problem for him later on when it comes to them possibly surpassing him. So they already sort of laid the foundation down for where this was going. And the second thing revealed by Whis is that Beerus used nearly 70% of his power against Super Saiyan God Goku. Nearly 70% of his power. Now, the thing about this line is only in the movie. It is not in the anime. And to me, and we'll use more examples as the video goes along, Toei Animation seems to tweak a lot of the power scaling to fit whatever they're promoting or to fit whatever narrative they want to push at the time they push it. You have to remember that there are inconsistencies here, and the reason for that is because Toei, Toyotaro, or whomever want to continue Dragon Ball and keep it suspenseful, so they kind of have to switch around some things. I'm pointing this out because as we progress through the series, you'll see that Goku is getting stronger and stronger, and that 70% number ends up being a lot harder to believe. Remember though, that was the original Battle of God story before the manga and anime. And let's not forget, and this is often forgotten about, that Toriyama himself did an interview back then where he basically used a minimalistic power scale and put Goku at around level 6 and Beerus at a level 10. And Whis is at level 15. This has not been brought up for years because a lot of fans think that this whole idea was dropped. And honestly, I can't blame them because it almost feels like that and the 70% number said in the movie were both possibly dropped or forgotten about or retconned. And please understand that the 6, 10, and 15 numbers are not actual power levels. It's a relative scale to understand the differences between them. That's all it is. So it shows that it'll take some time before Goku grows to reach Beerus' level, and definitely even more time to reach Whis if he ever even gets there. A couple years went by and we got Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, the movie, and later on we obviously got the arcs. And even though there was a 3-chapter promotional manga that Toyotaro did that almost nobody seems to remember, it was not part of the Dragon Ball Super manga. In the Dragon Ball Super manga, they skipped the entire Resurrection F story and just summarized it in about a panel or so from Whis and everybody else, going right into Universe 6. Now, the only real thing to take from the Resurrection F movie with regards to Goku and Beerus is that Goku at this point has an even stronger form than Super Saiyan God, and that is, of course, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, aka Super Saiyan Blue. So we're already seeing Goku creep up closer and closer to Beerus by unlocking a new form and slowly learning how to become more familiar with, comfortable with, and dangerous with God Ki. Now at this point, if you were to use that same 6, 10, 15 scale that Toriyama used during Battle of Gods, maybe now Goku's at a 6.5 or even a 7. Toriyama never said anything. There's no production notes about any of this. We just know that Goku is stronger. He has been training with Whis. He's become more comfortable with and more dangerous with using God Ki, adding to his experience. And one of the things that the Dragon Ball Super anime did is show us extra scenes of Goku training with Whis in between the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F arcs. But that's pretty much the only information we have relative to Beerus, because Frieza and everybody's afraid of him, but there isn't much that he actually does at all in Resurrection F. So now we move on. When we get to the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, aka the Champa Arc, here is where things get interesting. At this point, it feels like the anime and manga really are separate, and it was also during this point that if you were around